Hey, it's your boy Easy, and on today's episode of Easy Opens, we'll be talking about the Legacy Power Rangers in Space Blue Ranger from Bandai. Let's go ahead and get this figure free from its plastic prison, take a look, and see what we think about the Blue Ranger. And here is the Blue Ranger completely out of the box. This figure is based off the Blue Ranger from Power Rangers in Space, which was the 6th season of the American Power Rangers, which was based off of the 21st season of the Japanese Super Sentai series, Denji Sentai Mega Ranger. Now, if you've seen my other Power Ranger reviews, you'll know that I've championed the Super Sentai series as being really great. I'm going to do that here again. It's really great. If you haven't watched it, you need to go watch it. Just pick any of them, any of the seasons. They're all great, and you won't be disappointed. Now, back with the figure, the only accessories that come with the In-Space Mega Rangers are their Mega Snipers and the holster. The holster plugs into the right side of their belts, and again, if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I've had trouble with these guns staying in their holsters. Now, the belt holds the holster pretty good for the most part, but I think it gives into a little bit of peer pressure every once in a while and jumps out of the figure's belt along with the gun, just by me even thinking about moving the figure to get it into a pose. So I kind of have some gripes about that, but regardless, that's really the only accessory, I guess you could say, that comes with this figure, unfortunately. However, the figure does include one other piece, and that is the right leg piece used to build the Astro Megazord figure. Now, this figure is really cool. It stands at about 7.5 inches tall and is actually surprisingly really detailed and is a lot of fun. I've had some of the actual bigger Zords just growing up, and they were a lot of fun. And I know that they make some more high-end versions that are smaller, like around this size. And so this kind of piqued my interest into as to looking into getting some of those figures in this size, because this thing is a lot of fun. And I wasn't expecting it to be. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't come with any accessories either. It's just a giant robot. But then again, I'm going to rephrase that because I don't know. It might have sounded like I was complaining about getting a giant robot toy for buying all these other toys. And that's not a bad thing in any way you look at it. Now, these figures stand at about 6.5 inches tall, and unfortunately, that extra half inch might be a deal breaker for some collectors who are hoping to mix and match these figures with some other figures they might have in their collection. So I went ahead and grabbed some figures and took some comparison shots to give you an idea of how they're going to scale up with some other characters that you might be mixing and matching them with. So let's go ahead and take a look at those shots. So here he is with the whole team of In-Space / Mega Rangers from the Legacy line from Bandai. Here he is with the blue Mighty Morphin / Zoo Ranger from the same Legacy line of figures from Bandai. Here he is with He-Man from the Masters of the Universe Classics. Here he is with Daredevil from Marvel Legends. And here he is standing next to the Juggernaut from Marvel Select. Here he is with the Blue and Black Rangers from SH Figuarts. And here he is with the Pink Ranger from SH Figuarts. Now, if for some reason you're wanting to recreate, or at least get as close as you can to recreating the classic meetup of the In-Space Power Rangers with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the Next Mutation, you can attempt to do that with the Classics Donatello figure from Playmates, or you can try the Raphael figure from SH Figuarts.
All right, let's take a look at the articulation you're going to get out of the blue In-Space Ranger. So let's start with his head. His head is on a 360 joint, ball joint that can go around like this, full range of motion. He can look up that far. He can look down that far. And then moving on down to his shoulders, his arms can go up about this far, go right back down. He does have a bicep swivel, and he does have double jointed elbows. He also has a cut right here at the forearm that allows for 360 rotation, and he can get that at the wrist as well, and the wrist is also on a joint that allows for a full range of motion for the wrist. Moving on down to his legs, he's got a thigh cut, He's got double jointed knees. He's got a joint and a pivot at the ankle, which allows for a lot, like a full range of motion, which is really cool. And then his legs can go out or up this far, and they can go back. I don't know if you can see that very well. That far without bending. And yeah, there's that. And yeah, so then, and then moving up to his chest, his ab crunch, he can move back this far. He can go forward pretty good. And then he's got 360 rotation at the waist. And so there you go. That is the full range of articulation that you're going to get out of the Blue in Space Ranger.
When it comes to the sculpt on these figures, I actually do really like the sculpt on these figures. The detail that's here is nice, but it's not overdone, and there's not too much of it, except for maybe in the helmet, in the chest, and the belt. Everything else, I mean, the gloves and the boots have some lines in them and stuff, but, you know, other than that, there's not much there, and I actually do prefer this. Now, I didn't mention this in the other review, I don't think, but they're basically all just color swaps from each other figure, with the difference in the girls and the guys being obvious. There's not any variation outside of color from blue, black, and red, or pink and yellow, respectively. But I still think it looks great, and again, that's how it is on the show, so I think it's fitting for the figures to be the same way. Now, when it comes to the paint, like I've mentioned in previous reviews, I didn't have a lot of problem finding any with good paint. If I did find a problem, it was mostly in the chest on the multicolored part, and on the White Ranger that's in the same wave of figures, there was a weird smudge kind of thing, some glue or something, I don't know, I can't remember, but it was really nasty, and it wasn't an easy fix or like something you can ignore, but it was on his visor. So those were the only problems I found in the wild looking for these figures. However, on my figures, I don't recall seeing anything of like note as far as like paint mess ups. Hey, just wanted to jump in real quick and say that I found in post while making this video that there are two, I guess you'd call them paint errors, more actually like blemishes or scratches or something on the figure that I didn't talk about in the review, and just wanted to bring these to light. Now, one of them is on the back of the helmet that you couldn't see from the inside of the box, so there's no way of knowing how that's going to look. And the other is that he has a scratch on his chin. Well, I guess it's not his chin, it's his mouth guard. That in some lights you can see it and in some you can't. So, yeah, I did find that in post there were those issues. But other than that, everything else is pretty accurate to what was in the review. Those were the only problems I found in the wild looking for these figures. However, on my figures, I don't recall seeing anything of like note as far as like paint mess ups, but again, that's mostly probably due to the fact that the majority of this figure is cast in the color. The plastic is cast in the color that it's going to be used for, so you're not really painting that, you're just like molding it already there. So there's not a lot of room for paint error in these figures. Like I've said before in my other reviews, I like these Legacy 6.5-inch Power Ranger figures from Bandai a lot. I think they do what they need to do. They look great as an action figure. They do a really good job representing the character that they're actually portraying from the TV show. And most importantly, they come together to form a team to help fill gaps in our shelves of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Super Sentai. And I'm a big fan of that and really glad that Bandai is actually putting these figures out. Now, it does suck that they are 6.5-inch because that kind of puts them like a little out of the range for most figures to mix and match with, but I think for the most part you can fudge it. Now, unfortunately, they don't go with the as you saw in the comparison shots, they don't go really well with the SH Figuarts line of Power Rangers / Super Sentai figures. However, I think they will work with some Marvel Legends scale figures here and there, depending, on which one you're trying to use it with. But that aside, as far as the figure itself, just focusing on it, I only really have 2 gripes, and they're the same gripes I've had with the other figures in this line, is that, again, they don't include their signature weapon. I think that this is a huge miss on Bandai's part, but unless they're trying to get more money out of us by making a weapons pack, I think that this is a big misstep, and that having that signature weapon would have made this figure feel a lot closer to being a $20 figure. The other thing it could have included was maybe a couple of alternate hands that you could switch out, but I'm still glad that we did get at least the Mega Sniper and the holster. I mean, that's cool, and the Build-A-Figure part is fantastic. Like, I'm a huge fan of that, so they knocked it out of the park with that. But the other thing that I had a problem with, and I've mentioned in previous reviews, is that I had a hard time posing these figures. Now, like I did mention, they have all the articulation you could want, but the something about the joints and the plastic, it just didn't hold a pose very well, and I had a hard time getting good shots with these figures. Now, that could be my own, inexperience with these figures, or just my own, lack of talent. Nevertheless, this is my experience, so your mileage may vary with these figures, but there is a lot of potential given the articulation that is here. Now, having said all that, I do recommend these figures a lot. I think they're a lot of fun, and the Build-A-Figure part, again, really puts it over the top. And when you finally put it together, it's really cool and a lot more detailed than I was expecting it to be. So I'm really glad for that. Now, like I said earlier, these are $20 here in the States, and since it doesn't look like SH Figuarts are going to be continuing their Power Rangers / Sentai line of figures, this works as a good substitute to help, like I said, fill out the shelf and scratch that Ranger itch that we all have, and I highly recommend these figures. All right, well, that's it for today's episode. Thanks for watching, and if you liked what you saw, hit that like button for me. And if you want to see more from me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. And if you want to hear more from me for some reason, check out the links in the description below to my other podcasts. All right, well, be sure to check back here tomorrow for more opening goodness right here on Easy Opens. Else time.